Why did you think you'd stop on your walk today?
Well, we're actually just on a quick lunchtime walk. We work around the corner, saw the crowd gathered, asked your video guy what's going on, and it's only so often that you stumble across elite ginger.
Australia thought it was getting glamour, headlines, and a polished comeback moment, but instead it woke up to whispers, empty seats, tense smiles, and a luxury retreat that allegedly collapsed before the champagne even got cold. Meghan and Harry arrived expecting momentum, but by sunrise the mood had flipped so hard people were asking one brutal question: did the brand finally hit a wall? The first signs were subtle, always subtle. That is how these things began. Cars moved quietly, security looked tighter than the smiles, cameras searched for excitement and found something else instead.
Folks, it's barely started, and already it's a hot mess.
And this is the crowd that has gathered just in the past sort of half an hour or so. They arrived about 3:35. A lot of them were here because of the media.
It's a disaster in the making, Dan.
But the big crowd that they have seen today was at the Royal Children's Hospital. This was at lunchtime. There were hundreds of people.
I mean, I feel like we are mugs, Sophie. These guys are grifters par excellence. I call them the ginger and the whinger. There's no public-facing events. Everything's by invitation only. There's a couple of things, as you saw today at the Royal Children's Hospital, but that's just to give a bit of, froth and bubble out there for the media. Most of this is a commercial enterprise. It's to make money.
Hesitation, not chaos, not outrage. Worse, indifference. The kind of silence that screams louder than boos. Because when famous people walk into a room and nobody rushes forward, nobody gasps, nobody reaches for that perfect selfie moment, it lands like a slap no one admits to hearing. And then came the retreat, the glittering side event that was supposed to reframe everything. Wellness, empowerment, luxury healing, exclusive access, curated serenity, premium transformation. All the polished phrases money loves. But behind the velvet wording, rumors started sliding through hotel corridors like smoke. Ticket numbers were soft. Last-minute reshuffles were happening. VIP invites were being pushed harder than expected.
I spoke with quite a few of the passengers who came out into the arrivals area here at Melbourne Airport, and they said that they were really quite gobsmacked to have the Duke and Duchess on board their flight. This is what some of them had to say.
Staff were said to be scrambling. Suddenly, the must-attend experience was sounding more like a room waiting to be filled. That is where the real tension began, because Australia remembers their first wave. The earlier years, huge crowds, wild curiosity, cameras everywhere. Back then, they arrived wrapped in royal electricity. This time, they arrived carrying something heavier, baggage. Years of interviews, accusations, family wars, media feuds, rebrands, documentaries, speeches, podcasts, lawsuits, tears, claims, counterclaims. By the time they stepped back onto Australian soil, the sparkle was competing with fatigue, and people noticed everything. They noticed how carefully each appearance seemed managed.
Much more downgraded way of getting here. They arrived here just after 6:30 on a commercial jet.
I've never seen anybody look so refreshed getting off a flight from the US. He looked great. Prince Harry, yeah.
What about Meghan?
I didn't see her.
They noticed how every smile looked measured. They noticed how the trip balanced charity moments beside premium paid experiences. That contrast became the whisper of the week. Compassion in one room, commerce in the next, hugs for cameras here, high ticket access there, public warmth mixed with private pricing. It created a question nobody could unsee once it entered the room. Was this service or strategy? Meghan, as always, moved like someone who understands where every lens is hiding. She knows the frame, the angle, the pause, the hand placement, the emotional beat. Harry moved differently, more casual, more restless, more like a man trying to appear natural while trapped inside a machine that never stops observing him. Side by side, they still know how to create an image, but this time the image had cracks, small ones, enough to let the doubt.
Harry and Meghan, welcome to Australia. Welcome to Australia. What are you most looking forward to?
Everything. It's been great. Nice to be back.
Meghan, how does this make you feel?
Oh, so grateful to be here. Thank you.
Inside one venue, guests reportedly expected exclusivity and elegance. Outside, people joked online that the only thing truly healed would be the pricing spreadsheet. That sting matters because mockery is dangerous. Outrage can be fought. Criticism can be denied. But laughter? Laughter spreads like wildfire and burns prestige faster than scandal ever could. Then, whispers grew nastier. Some said retreat packages had been adjusted quietly overnight. Some said seats were combined to make rooms look fuller. Some said planned attendees backed away after backlash. Some claimed locals were tired of celebrity therapy being sold as meaning. Whether every rumor was true almost stopped mattering. Perception had already started writing the story, and Perception is where Meghan and Harry live now. They are no longer protected by palace walls, schedules, titles doing the heavy lifting, or centuries of ceremony turning appearances into automatic importance. Now every move must earn itself. Every headline must justify itself. Every audience must choose them. That is a harsher game. No balcony, no institution, no guaranteed applause. So when a luxury retreat stumbles, it becomes more than a scheduling problem. It becomes symbolic. Suddenly, critics say the shine is fading. Supporters say the media is hunting them again. Neutrals shrug and move on. And in the middle of all that, the couple keeps smiling because what else can they do? The commercial flight arrival had been praised by some as grounded and relatable. But even that became part of the debate. Was it humble or calculated? Humble, genuine simplicity, or expensive simplicity packaged to look modest? Every move now comes with two narratives attached, and both travel at the same speed. By the second day, the energy around them had changed from curiosity to calculation. People were no longer asking what Meghan and Harry were doing in Australia. They were asking what they were trying to become. That is a far more dangerous question, because once motives enter the conversation, every handshake starts looking rehearsed. Every hug starts looking strategic. Every smile starts looking timed to the shutter click, and suddenly the trip was no longer about appearances or charity stops or glamorous arrivals. It had become an identity crisis unfolding in public. Inside hospitals and community centers, the couple still knew how to work a room. Harry leaned into warmth, crouching to speak with children, listening carefully, offering that familiar, easy charm that once made him one of the monarchy's most bankable faces. Meghan leaned into intensity, long eye contact, clasped hands, emotional language, carefully delivered sincerity. In those close-up moments, they could still be effective. They could still create scenes people wanted to believe in. But outside those walls, another story was racing ahead of them. The retreat collapse had become shorthand for something bigger. Critics were calling it proof that celebrity influence does not automatically convert into trust anymore. Others said the market was saturated with wellness brands, empowerment promises, curated healing experiences, and expensive access disguised as transformation. Some said people were simply tired of being sold inspiration by millionaires. That line landed hard because it was brutal, memorable, and impossible to fully dismiss once repeated enough times. Then came the whispers that truly sting public figures. Maybe they overestimated demand. That sentence can wound more than scandal because it suggests decline. It suggests the crowd is shrinking. It suggests the magic no longer arrives on command, and decline is the one rumor every brand fears most, because controversy can keep you relevant. Outrage can keep cameras pointed your way. Even hatred can drive clicks. But indifference is cold. Indifference empties rooms. Indifference lets people scroll past without stopping. If Australia was responding with anything close to indifference, then this trip was more serious than one failed premium event. Harry reportedly kept pushing forward, focusing on speaking appearances and causes tied to mental health and veterans. He still carries emotional credibility in those spaces. People know his history, his losses, his service background, but even there, the atmosphere had changed. Every serious message now had to compete with the noise surrounding the retreat. Every noble moment had a price tag headline floating beside it. Every meaningful stop had side commentary asking who benefits most from the visibility. Meghan faced a different battle. She has always been judged through a harsher lens, whether fair or unfair. Some see ambition and reinvention. Others see performance and calculation. During this trip, that divide exploded again. One photo of her serving in a kitchen was praised as hands-on compassion by supporters and mocked as stage branding by critics. Same image, two completely opposite realities. That is the battlefield she now lives on. And then there was the marriage question. It always arrives when pressure rises. People watch body language like detectives. They analyze distance between shoulders, who speaks first, who reaches first, who looks tired, who looks irritated, who smiles too late. During tense tours, gossip does not need evidence. It only needs footage slowed down enough times. A delayed glance becomes a frosty moment. A quiet walk becomes serious strain. A tired face becomes crisis behind scenes. Whether true or false almost becomes secondary once the machine starts spinning. Sources, insiders, observers, commentators, people close to the situation, the usual anonymous orchestra began playing. Some claimed they were frustrated with advisors. Some claimed they were rethinking future commercial events. Some claimed Australia had been meant as a reset and was now becoming another PR mess. None of it fully confirmed. All of it highly believable to audiences already primed for drama. drama. That is how reputations unravel now. Not in one explosion, in 1,000 tiny cuts. And still, the cameras kept rolling. They continued appearing polished, walking into venues, greeting supporters, thanking organizers, moving with that practice rhythm famous couples learn when private feelings must never interrupt public schedules. But observers kept noticing something else. They seemed less like unstoppable stars and more like two people working very hard to remain symbols. That difference matters. Once upon a time, they represented rebellion, modernity, freedom, escape, reinvention. They were the couple who broke away and would build something bigger. Now many people were asking what exactly had been built. Media deals that cooled, projects that faded, public sympathy that split, constant headlines but unclear direction, plenty of attention, less certainty. And Australia unintentionally became the mirror reflecting all of it. Because if a glamorous overseas trip with built-in publicity, emotional causes, beautiful settings, and global press attention still turned into questions about pricing, purpose, authenticity, and demand, then maybe the problem was no longer timing. Maybe it was trust. Late into the trip, supporters insisted the backlash was exaggerated and driven by hostile commentators desperate to tear them down. Critics insisted the retreat flop exposed everything they had been saying for years. Neutral viewers simply enjoyed the spectacle. That may be the harshest twist of all. For many outsiders, this was no longer a movement or a mission. It was entertainment. And that is the danger zone for serious public figures. Once audiences consume you mainly as drama, every sincere act gets filtered through suspicion. Every charitable effort becomes content. Every appearance becomes episodic. Every setback becomes another binge-worthy chapter. By the final stretch, Australia had not given them the triumphant comeback some expected. It had given them something more revealing, a test. A loud, messy, expensive, awkward test of whether fame without institution, status without structure, and branding without deep trust can sustain itself long-term. The retreat may have flopped overnight, but what truly shocked Australia was not one empty room or one awkward headline. It was the possibility that the old formula no longer works. Because titles fade, sympathy fades, novelty fades, even scandal fades. But public instinct is ruthless. And if the crowd senses that a story is being sold harder than it is being believed, the chill arrives fast. That may be the coldest lesson of this entire trip. Not that people were angry, not that critics were loud, not that headlines were savage. It was that the room did not rush forward the way it once did. And for Meghan and Harry, that silence may have said everything.